Liberation and Freedom Committee meeting to order. We'll start off with roll call. If I call your name, please identify whether you are here. We'll start off with members of the Diversity Affairs Commission. I am here. Yiling Zhang is here. Lada Zhang Vang. Idawu Odatsu.
Here.
Thank you. Ann Saris. Latanya Campbell.
Hello?
Oh.
Oh. Oh, we got muted.
Latanya Campbell is here. Supervisor Bill Conway. Here. Supervisor Allison Leahy. Here. Thomas Wendt. Lisa Ort Sundergaard. All right, with a quorum present from the Diversity Affairs Commission, we will move on to the roll call from the Liberation and Freedom Committee members. Alderperson Tom Killian. Be her. Andrea Oyola. Latanya Campbell.
Here.
Brenton Wildman. Carmen Holm. And Angela Springer.
Here.
Thank you. And so it does seem like there is a quorum present from the Liberation and Freedom Committee as well. So with that said, we will go ahead and move on to public comment. At this time, is there any individual that wishes to address the joint meeting of the to address the Marathon County Diversity Affairs Commission and the City of Wausau Liberation and Freedom Committee? Ma'am, you could come up here and please state your name and your address. I wish to remind all attendees, if you are here, if you are attending via WebEx, for you to mute yourself. In addition, I want to address and remind all committee members, not committee members, all individuals that are speaking during the public comment to direct their comments to the chair specifically and the commissions and the committee as a whole. Please do not direct any comments towards any one specific individual. With that said, ma'am, I will now allocate 3 minutes to you. Go ahead.
Okay. My name is Diane Schulz, and I live at 175-733 Ringel Avenue, Ringel 54471. I would like to ask or make public comment, and this is really in regard to previous meetings that I've watched online. And in February of 2020, a diversity affairs presentation was done at our school for our school-age children, grades 4 through 8. Our children were told that they were considered white oppressors because they were not contributing to this movement. If you did not contribute to the movement, then you were considered a white oppressor, regardless of the color of your skin. And because of that fact, some of these children felt very uncomfortable. The families, even though they received a notice that the Diversity Affairs was going to speak, most of us and all of us, I would say, are very open and accepting of all races and have worked throughout the community with all races, but felt that that was a very unfair characterization, especially to school-age children. Who are trying to do their best to integrate into society. And I just wanted to know if anyone views that as a problem, because that's the way I felt. I felt that that was a heart-wrenching problem to tell school-age children that they're considered white oppressors because they were born white, and forefathers that we should have apologized many, many years ago for. You cannot make these things, you can't make them go away. Our past is our past. You cannot make them go away. And two wrongs, you guys doing this and what happened in the past, do not make it right. Two wrongs do not make it right. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other individuals that wishes to address the Diversity Affairs Commission and the Liberation and Freedom Committee? Hearing none, we will go ahead and move on to number 3. Oh, Mr. Gonzalez, go ahead and come up here. Please state your name and your address for the record. And I will once again remind all speakers that for you to address the committee and the chair, not any specific individual. With that said, I will now allow you 3 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. Tony Gonzalez, 219 North 4th Avenue here in Wausau. I just wanted to bring up a point, that this is a diversity commission and everything, but I don't see a lot of the Hispanic community represented right here, and it's a large number, and we've discovered that number to be even larger through COVID and going out and taking care of people. So I just wanted to make a note of this, and also the lack of information of when these events are happening for everybody else. It needs to be communicated, and not only in English, but the other languages that we have around here. It's a deep concern for me because of the number of members of the community, of the Hispanic community in particular that we have, and that our experiences should also be revealed right here, that this involves all of us, and not everybody has the bad experiences that others unfortunately have. So I think it's important that this group here and everything consider that, and that there is representation from as much of a diverse group as you can have out here, in particular those groups that are growing in our area. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Is there anybody else that wishes to address the Diversity Affairs Commission and the Liberation and Freedom Committee?
Hi, my name is Betty Aarons, 165402 County Road Z.
Okay,
Excuse me?
ma'am, just hold on a second here. You're looking to speak to to address the committee, the commission, and the committee. Is that correct?
Yes, you just gave that invitation.
Yes. So with that said, I will go ahead and allocate you 3 minutes. Once again, I just want to remind all comments to be directed towards the chair or the committee and the commission as a whole. With that said, I will now allocate you 3 minutes to go ahead and speak. Go ahead.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity to speak. With this whole Community for All resolution, I do have the concern that a lot of it is based on critical race theory, and some of the top writers in critical race theory are using phrases such as, in order to remedy racism from the past, we need to have current racism. In order to remedy current racism, we need to have future racism. And now, to me, that is not solving a problem. That is creating further division. Many people in Marathon County, their relatives were not here when some of the things in the past happened. In fact, for example, my grandparents came from very oppressive conditions overseas. They came here, they were in abject poverty. They lived during the Depression. They had issues in their families. Can you hear me? We're having a lot of feedback. They had a lot of issues in their families with, alcoholism, abuse, etc. And yet they didn't feel like programs that favor one skin color over another would be the answer. They felt that you need to, get out there and learn and do the work, et cetera, et cetera. My father himself only made it to 8th grade and had to help on the farm because times were hard. But when he was in his 40s, he was able to go to the tech and get a mechanical design degree after having worked at the paper mill as a laborer for a number of years. But some of the things that we're doing here, I think, are not helpful in just creating more programs that bring people to a certain point, but don't necessarily help them stand on their feet. Oh, a lot of feedback again. Hello?
We can still hear you.
But
Go ahead.
one of my biggest concerns is the the critical race theory ideas. There's a lot of dangerous ideas where we're dividing people into oppressed and oppressor. So many people, even on the city council and the county board, are white, and so they, by that definition, are oppressors, and I don't think they really are. The other part is the LGBTQ plus and trying to do the inclusiveness with all of that. And there are many, I don't know if you're aware, in California, back in fall, they took the first step to pass a law to be one step closer to legalizing pedophilia. And in the intellectual community, now they are saying a minor attracted person, a MAP, or a pedophile, is now a legitimate sexual identity. And so
Ma'am, your 3 minutes is up. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wishes to address the Diversity Affairs Commission and the Liberation and Freedom Committee? All right, hearing none, we'll go ahead and move on to number 3 of the agenda, educational presentations, outcome monitoring reports, a discussion on joining county and city diversity efforts. So just to give a little background information to members of the commission and the committee here, in the past, when the Diversity Affairs Commission was originally developed or created, it was created as a result of the Wausau 2000 study that was based off of, that was conducted to try and address the new waves of Hmong individuals or refugees that were coming to the local area here. And from my understanding, my recollection here, there was an establishment of the, at that time, the Diversity Affairs Commission, which was a joint collaboration between the county and the city of Wausau. As years went by, that the city of Wausau ended up withdrawing from that group, and that's how the Marathon County continues to this day here. So I was approached by Mayor Rosenberg, and we were, during our discussions here, along with Administrator Leonard and also Chairman Gibbs, there was a discussion about potentially bringing these two groups back together here in an effort to unite efforts in regards to diversity initiatives. Obviously, because diversity doesn't end at the border of City of Wausau, it continues onward, and that was what and this commission was originally as a joint entity, as let's put it that way there. So I don't know if Mayor Rosenberg or Administrator Leonard has anything they want to add into the discussion here, but I would gladly turn the floor over to Mayor Rosenberg.
Hello? Okay, I'll try this one. I think you captured our conversation quite well. You know, we're at the city, we're looking at all of the ways that we're partnering with the county. We're reviewing some of our parks things, and this seemed natural. We have some shared members of both of our bodies. So I guess today is only meant for discussion, talking about what we can do. I'm super pumped to hear some feedback from the community, especially about some of the language barriers and people who are maybe missing from this conversation. And I think that's something that we can keep rolling together as both members of elected governing bodies. So I don't know if there's anything you'd like to add.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Mayor Rosenberg. I'll leave my staff hat on for my comments. I think your timing for the conversation is a good one. On the county side, as you may be aware, we have the Rules Review Committee, which is convened once every term of the county board, and there are rules within the county board ordinances that provide for the creation of the Diversity Affairs Commission. If the desire is to move to what, as Chair Zhang had referenced, had been, as I understand it, because this predates me, of course, what had been the original formulation of that commission, we'd need to ultimately codify that into the rules that are provided for by Marathon County Ordinance. So I appreciate the opportunity, Mr. Chair, just to provide that context for your discussion here today, that both the city and the county, should you wish to make a recommendation for that to be considered by both the city council and the county board, would be a recommendation ultimately to those two bodies to consider through the rulemaking process.
Thank you, Administrator. Is there any beginning comments or discussions from commissioners or committee members? Supervisor Leahy, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess just kind of a starting logistical question about how a joint committee or commission of this nature would work. Maybe those who have had experience in the past with city-county collaborations could maybe talk a little bit about what that might look like, how it's looked historically, or how we would move forward with that.
Hello?
Go ahead, Mayor.
He put it on mute, so you kind of tricked me. So right now we have a couple of collaborative committees. So one most notably is CCIT. It's our IT committee. It's North Central Healthcare. It's the county, and it's Wausau. So I mean, really, we just meet like any other commission or committee. It would be just like this. I think probably the weirdest logistical part of it is that both governing bodies, or actually all three in that case, have to approve the appointments. So I don't remember specifically on the rules if one member can say no to someone, but that might be.
I think building on what the mayor said, and again, my experience here is limited, but should the city and county wish to create a joint commission, as it had previously, you would do that through intergovernmental agreement, which is how CCIT is formulated, which is how North Central Healthcare is formulated, which is how the Central Wisconsin Airport is created. That's a partnership between Portage and Marathon counties. And that intergovernmental agreement would lay out the mission and purpose, would lay out things such as membership, duties and responsibilities. And then, as the mayor referenced, any intergovernmental agreement would ultimately have to be ratified by each of the governing bodies, which, as I understand, based on multiple levels of hearsay, because again, this predates me, that's what happened with the Diversity Affairs Commission, as Chair Zhang referenced it in its original formulation of that joint partnership between the city and county. But that process would in effect need to take place again.
I guess I would just add, at the time when that was created, we tried to dust off some of the old documents that we had. I'm sure you have more documents. But we also had a diversity affairs coordinator that was working on behalf of both the city and the county. I think it was like a part-time job or maybe a quarter time. So that was one of those things. I think probably the city pulled out of that funding for that, and it seems to me that it was around the time of the recession, so people were looking for all kinds of things to cut, and I think that was one of the things that got cut.
Just wanted to remind all attendees, if you're attending via WebEx, for you to please mute your phone so that it wouldn't cause any disruption to this meeting here. In addition, I just want to add on to what Mayor Rosenberg and Administrator Leonard said. If I recall correctly, the position was the Minority Affairs Director, and that position was funded partially by the county and partially by the city, from my understanding as well. So that person was kind of the individual that helped with the coordinated with a lot of the efforts with the Diversity Affairs Commission. So, any other thoughts from committee or commissioners?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Commissioner Campbell.
In the event that we say we don't decide to join efforts, what does that look like for the commission and the committee? Do they remain as is, or would remain?
Go ahead, Mayor.
As far as the city of Wausau is concerned, we would continue as is. We would keep meeting. I know we haven't met in a while, but we would start over again and keep meeting. So that's the way I see it. I don't know if it's different for the county, but.
Any other, Alder Killian?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's a pleasure to be here today, and I'm glad to hear the perspectives of county counterparts. That being said, I think we're talking about two distinct levels of government with different geographies, often different needs and dispositions. And for example, I was elected to serve District 3 in the city of Wausau. That is my focus, and that is what I am committed to do, while also serving the best interests of my hometown. Furthermore, I believe it is my feeling that the municipal committee has been effective and has followed objective strategies and tactics in an effective way in the policy realm. Therefore, I would not support joining the two bodies. And well, I do respect my counterparts' role in Marathon County at making policy decisions. That does not mean I am obliged to respect those policy decisions or outcomes, and therefore I believe that it would not be prudent or effective for Wausau to tie its ship to Marathon County's dock at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other thoughts from commissioners or committee members? Supervisor Conway?
Am I in? There we go. To your point, that's a good point. We've heard many times that about the county-city divide, and then things are different here versus out in the country. So that's a pretty good point. And if we do decide to actually join, it might behoove us to have two separate entities that work together. We could work together on everything, or just make a strategic plan to have different outcomes that would affect the whole county or city specific. So I can see trouble on the horizon, just like you said, that, yeah, you're going to get people that like, don't you bring your problems out here kind of thing. And it is like, we're all in the same boat, if you were, but yeah, I get what you're saying with the dock.
Thank you. Commissioner Campbell?
So, selfishly, I would like to see them together just because that's less meetings for me. But I would question right now, like when we want to create or want to do something, do we need to get both sides permission? In some regards, might be able to get approval from one side but not the other. So then where does that leave us, and what are we able to do would be my question. I feel like all the things that we're working on is a humanity issue. It's not a city issue, it's not a county issue, it's humanity. And the things that we're doing and we're creating in here impacts everybody regardless if they're in the city or in the county. So in that regard, I wouldn't be opposed to joining, but I would like to have like in writing, what can we do? Who do we have to answer to? Do we have to get both the city's vote? Because right now, anytime the Diversity Affairs or the Wausau Freedom and Liberation Committee do something, we have to send it up to a subcommittee. And then it has to go to the full board if it passes those subcommittees. So now are we going to be sending everything to 2 subcommittees and 2 full boards? I do feel like the more hands we get involved, the harder it is to be to get things accomplished. And right now they're hard enough. So I'm kind of torn. Again, I would like, to be able to work on this together, but we need some direction.
Thank you, Commissioner. I think I just want to respond a little bit here and provide a little bit clarification here. I think that's to answer your question about kind of the logistics portion of it, about who we would be reporting to, and how the appointment process would be in place. That would be all part of the discussion during the discussion with the intergovernmental agreement here as well too. In that agreement, there it would also list a charter of what this joint group of city and county representatives, I guess, so for the lack of better term here, will be responsible for, and what they'll be addressing, what issues or policies they would be addressing or developing recommendations for. So I hope that answers your question. Right now, it's still so preliminary that we haven't really had those discussions about who we would be reporting to, where, and the logistics portion of it yet. But the whole purpose of today here is to talk about whether this is a route that the Diversity Affairs Commission, the Freedom Liberation Committee is interested in pursuing, or whether it is or whether it's not. So that's the whole purpose of today. If we feel that it is a route that we should take, we can then continue discussions about logistics, membership makeups, and reporting relationships as well too. I'll let the mayor just comment if I'm missing anything specifically, but that's from my understanding.
Yeah, I think you explained it very well. I think probably from the city side, our orders, the reason we were created, are a little bit vague. So that was one of the things that I was working on with our chair to figure out how do we make sure that we're focused on a goal. And you know, we are organized differently than the county's commission. So it's a little bit different. You guys have I've seen the strategic plan goals you were focused on working on. So you know, we're a little bit behind on that, but I would say similar. Yep, we would work together on a charter, and we'd figure that out.
Any other comments, thoughts, questions, concerns? Alder Killian, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to kind of touch on the topic of theory and reality and how sometimes the latter does not play well into larger, more nebulous dynamics like joining the city and the county. And again, I'll go back to the reason I'm sitting in this chair at all, and it is because voters in Wausau and in my district voted to have me here to support those interests. And yes, I reside in Marathon County as well, but it is incumbent upon me to place the welfare and priorities of those I serve first and foremost when I'm holding a microphone like this. And it was very interesting today, and I always enjoy hearing different perspectives from citizens when they give their input. And I think the important thing in those circumstances is that citizens actually feel it is worth giving their input. Often today, some of the citizenry, I believe, they find it futile to even come and speak to their government because they feel it doesn't make much of a darn difference anyway. So for me, it is not whether I hear an opinion that is consistent with mine. I am just very pleased that citizens come and give their opinions. And in a healthy democracy, we should have debate and different opinions. But back to the topic of reality, these issues to me are not theoretical. When I speak of them, it is not a matter of opinion, it is a matter of fact. And when I say that, I'm talking about statistical realities, such as the environmental justice resolution that I had introduced in Wausau recently. There's nothing theoretical about that. As the city of Wausau's 47-page application to the EPA demonstrated, I did not have to do much to support the notion behind that resolution because thankfully the city had done it for me already. But back to that, we are talking about, in my district, statistical, factual realities of disproportionate burdens for the citizens that I represent. And given that is a real scenario, it is a focus of mine, I do feel we are going to dilute the needs of these realities if we combine the city and the county. The county is a composite of different municipalities and other entities. Therefore, in my district, whether those disproportionate impacts exist because they were intentional or incidental, and I'll tell you, they often were historically incidental, but that does nothing to diminish the damaging impacts of them. Those must be addressed. That is my priority, and if I had wanted to work in county government, I would have ran for county board. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other comments from commissioners or committee members? Supervisor Conway, go ahead.
One option we could pursue is like a liaison effort that we tie together. We stay independent, yet collaborate when feasible or when appropriate. That might be something worth pursuing if we don't combine, because clunking enough heads together, getting all the heads to clunk together usually provides better results in my opinion.
Thank you. Commissioner Campbell?
I have more of a question. Is there anything that's done in a city that wouldn't impact the county, and is there anything done as far as the county that doesn't impact the city? to me, it kind of goes hand in hand, so I think I'm missing something. Can someone answer that?
People are looking to me, and I'm not sure that I'm the one to answer this, but since I was handed a microphone, I don't know that I can answer that question. Certainly, from my perspective as staff to the county board, I view the success of Marathon County as Alder Killian put it. We are a collection of everything within the county, and for the county to be successful, it behooves us to work collaboratively with municipalities. We partner a great deal with the city on a number of things. We partner with as many municipalities as we can on collective efforts. I'm not sure that this is answering your question, but I don't know that it's a question I can answer. Certainly, things that happen within the city are meaningful to the county. Things that happen outside the city, I'm sure, are meaningful to the mayor and the city council and city residents. I live in the city. I certainly care about what happens in the county. Again, sorry for the lack of philosophical solution, but that's my pontification for today.
Thank you. I just want to make a notice. We do need to keep that door open per open meeting laws. So, oh, yes. Oh, well, we still have to keep it open for open. Thank you. We appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Any other comments or concerns from committee or commission members?
Commissioner Campbell,
Go ahead, Commissioner Campbell.
thank you for your answer. That helped a little bit. I guess I'm looking at,
Commissioner Campbell, can you speak into the microphone? Is it on?
sure, I think, yeah, it's on. So both the Diversity Affairs and the Liberation Committee objective is to identify, areas of opportunity when it comes to marginalized populations. So we're thinking about like health and finances, all the different systems that we've been talking about. And so I felt like both of those systems impact those populations in the same way for city and county. So that's kind of where I was going with that. I don't know if that helps clarify. No.
Madam Mayor, go ahead.
I don't have an answer to your question, but I see where you're going. And when I served on the county board, I viewed myself as, District 1's representative to the county board in the city. And we had shared constituents. I met up with my counterpart on city council all the time, and that's who I represented. But I did have to make decisions on behalf of the county too. We had a lot of things, including metallic mining ordinances that would never touch the city of Wausau, but I still had to make that decision and vote on stuff like that. So I think when we're talking about getting together and maybe combining our shared efforts, it's more of like what should a governing body be talking about when it comes to however we want to call it, diversity affairs, but these issues. How do we talk about this together? How do we do what's best for our shared constituents? And Wausau is almost a third of Marathon County's population. So it is good for us to work together and get aligned sometimes, although some of the issues do diverge. And I understand when we talk about differing opinions, I definitely understand it. And it's a different animal some days, I know from experience.
Supervisor Leahy, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Something mentioned earlier was kind of the shared staff. So I'm still intrigued by the possibility of the diversity affairs coordinator position or something similar that used to exist. Would that be an opportunity to utilize a professional, a staff positioned role that could help steer or give support to both the commission and the city committee? Would that still be something on the table that could be a shared resource, even if we don't combine officially these two committees?
Go ahead, Madam Mayor.
I don't want to speak for anybody on the county side for sure, and obviously it would have to be budgeted for by the city council, but we do have shared services. It could be either, I think about the parks director. The parks director reports to you, but we have shared services that the city uses. So again, that would probably be a governmental agreement, but.
I concur with the mayor's assessment that would be provided for within the intergovernmental agreement, and then That agreement would provide for the reporting relationship, supervision, and then, as the mayor said, it would have to be budgeted for, excuse me, by each elected entity. So you'd have the city council and then the county board ultimately in charge of funding that position.
Any other questions or thoughts? Commissioner or Sundergaard?
I don't reside in the city of Wausau. I reside in rural Marathon County. And I got to concur with Alderman Killian's position that I think theory it sounds great. And I came thinking, yeah, let's do this. Let's save time. Let's be efficient. Let's put our heads together and maybe, streamline some discussions and some problem solving. However, given the opposition that the county board has seen with the various resolutions that have come out of the Diversity Affairs Commission, it seems, and I'm going to make a generalization here, which normally I don't like to do, but it seems overall those have been opposed by people representing the rural parts of our country, of our county, and supported by the representatives of the city of Wausau. So I guess I feel like maybe the city's perspective is going to get swallowed up by the counties in that. If we combine these two, I think if we can somehow collaboratively work together to be efficient and to bring more ideas to the table and not have both entities reinventing the wheel, I think that makes sense. But I think it's really important to keep those bodies separate. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to note that I think that by having either whether it's a joint group or one entity together would continue that discussion, and we would all be on the same page as well too. I noticed that there's whatever that's being discussed at the county level potentially could be different than what's being talked at the at the city level. I know that Commissioner Campbell serves on both committees, and I'm sure she's aware of how the different dynamics or the different environments is in both committees. But I guess having one entity would then be able to make sure that we're all discussing the same things, discussing the same issues, and be able to have the same perception and perspective on what's being discussed. Just my 2 cents. Any other thoughts or comments from commissioners or committee members? Vice Chair Lada Zhongveng, go ahead.
Can you guys hear me? Okay, so how I see this being successful is if we collaborate, because then we can share resources and service, and we all are talking about the same thing, whether we're in the same meeting or not. But then understanding that we're going to take it back to our organizations and let it go through the process. It's normal process.
Lada, can you use a different microphone? For some reason, that one sounds a little different. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, well, very different. Okay. So collaborating together, but then going back to our separate organizations and entities to have it go through its process of approval, understanding that maybe the results or the outcome might not be the same for both city and county. That's how I see it being successful, but I'll leave it up to who can make those decisions.
Thank you. Any other thoughts from commissioners or committee members? Any other thoughts? Comments, concerns? I want to remind all attendees via WebEx to mute yourself so that you would not interrupt the meeting, as it would be greatly appreciated.
To take it. So the guys are.
Any other comments or thoughts from commissioners and committee members? Go ahead, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. So I came to this meeting after discussing this with your chair, Yiling Zhang, and I don't have any expectations of how this will go. I thought it would be a good discussion to have. So I guess maybe if we leave this, do we want to be together again? Do we want to meet again, kind of think about it, talk about it more? Or is this just something we want to say, you know what, not ready, don't want to do it? Because it will I think it will require on the city side for us to consider how we want to move forward with our own goals. But I guess I'd be interested in hearing from you folks.
Vice Chair Zhang Wang, go ahead.
Are we allowed to do like a trial and test run, or is it final written in stone if we try it and it doesn't work?
I don't think we can do a trial, but we could have another joint meeting, and I don't think that's breaking any rules. Okay, just got the. So if you'd like to have another joint meeting at some point, I would be open to it. We'll probably need to have one on our own because we need to elect a new chair and appoint a couple more people.
Commissioner Campbell, go ahead.
If I was to make a decision today, I wouldn't mind keeping.
Commissioner Campbell, can you speak closer to the microphone? Sorry.
Is this better? Okay, I'm fine with keeping it separate, but I do like Supervisor Conway's idea of having at least a liaison and working on some projects collaboratively. It must be important to have the two separate bodies because of representatives. That's great, but I would like us to be able to collaborate on certain projects and work together.
Supervisor Leahy, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, along those lines, I think implementing an actual structure for us to meet regularly, like writing it into bylaws, or even if we don't want to go that far, but organizing ahead of time, knowing that these two bodies are going to meet up somewhat regularly in advance, having that on the calendar would probably go a long way in making sure we're communicating more than we have in the past and allowing for that collaboration, checking in with one another in a way that impromptu meetings don't always give you that time to plan out an agenda and know exactly what you want to discuss for efficiency's sake and for better collaboration.
Any other thoughts? Alder Killian, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I would echo those sentiments that I think collaboration and dialogue would be very positive and productive, and so more levels of government, hopefully more and more citizenry at each meeting, and I think the more voices and brainstorming sessions that are involved, likely the better.
Thank you. Any other thoughts? So from what I'm hearing here, then we are all right with looking at potentially having another joint meeting, continue this discussion moving forward. But I also heard that there's a lot of support towards doing collaborative efforts together. Am I hearing this correctly? Okay. Yes. Any other thoughts or comments or concerns? Going once? All right, hearing none. With that said, first and foremost, I just want to thank the mayor, along with members of the Freedom and Liberation Committee, for making the time to joining us, and also want to thank all the commissioners and members of the public for joining us here as well. And I appreciate it was a very well thought and great discussion, and I'm looking forward to future discussions about this, whether it's in the realm of collaborative efforts or a joint entity. I'm looking forward to this as well to continue these discussions. So with that said, we will go ahead and move on to number 4, adjournment. Can I get a motion to adjourn? There is a motion from Alder Killian. Is there a second? Second from Commissioner Wendt. Any discussions? Hearing none. All those. Yes.
I do have one question, and that is in the
Commissioner Wendt. Is this germane to the discussion about adjournment, or is this something specifically different?
It's actually something different, so I'll hold on to the next meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
With that said, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. The motion carries, and we are adjourned at 2:44. Thank you, everyone.